Have you ever wondered what's happening in a doctor's world? In a place where every heartbeat counts, not every decision feels like life or death. I come to realize something. It's not just about the medicine. It's about the minds behind the scrubs. So here's the deal. In this podcast, we'll be diving into the stuff they don't teach you in medical school. We're talking about resilience, compassion, and the incredible power of the human spirit. Because let's face it, being a doctor is just more than writing prescriptions and diagnosing diseases. Join us and click on the subscribe button because what we are going to uncover might change the way you see the world of medicine forever. So let's get into the episode. Hi everyone, this is Minds Over Scrubs. Today's episode will be with me. I am Eirik Tjønnfjord, working as cardiology resident in Norway. And as usual, I have with me Eirik Tjønnfjord, who is a hematologist, also a doctor. So today we will be talking about why we chose medicine. Really interesting question. And I would like to ask you, Eirik, why did you choose medicine?
I think that I've always wanted to do something to help other people. Since as long as I can remember, I've always found it interesting to do a difference. And I've been, I don't know when I decided to become a doctor, but I've always talked about becoming a police or a firefighter or a doctor. And I also grew up with a mother that's a nurse and my father that's a doctor, so probably was inspired by that. But on the other hand, my brother, she's not a doctor at all. So I think that depends on what kind of person you are. But my underlying reason is that I want to help other people. And after I became a diabetic myself, diabetes 1. I really saw the good thing in needing help, and I wanted to do the same for others. I think that's how it started.
Yeah, because for myself, it's a different story, because my parents are refugees during the Vietnam War, and they came here in Norway having nothing, and they wanted their kids to have great opportunities to become doctors, lawyers, or engineers if we had good grades. And my sister is a doctor, and so am I. And my brother, he's working as something in computer things. I don't actually know what his title is, but I'm really proud of him as well. And for me, it was more about being pushed by my parents, especially my father, because he wanted me to be a doctor because it is a prestigious career, a job. And I did eventually go to the medical school and become a doctor. But I think I didn't realize after the 4th year in medical school that I really wanted to do this. I really loved doing this. And so for me, it was more about exploring those 4 years to actually see if this is something for me or not, because I wasn't sure at that time. I was really insecure and back then, and I didn't know this was the fit for me, the right fit for me. And I think a lot of students and back then as me, we doubted ourselves. I think so. I just don't think we were talking about it. And and today when I'm talking to some of my previous friends back then, how they have also foreign backgrounds with some of them with refugees and parents with different backgrounds. They're telling me the same story as mine, that they were influenced by their parents because they wanted it, not necessarily that they wanted themselves to actually be part of the medical community. But for me, I'm really happy that I'm a doctor today.
But do you think it's different being a Norwegian, Scandinavian, European child and a child from Vietnam, Africa, or whatever, when you talk about your parents pushing you a little bit? Because being a doctor was a prestigious career, and the money was probably really good in the older days. But I think that if you are choosing becoming a doctor because of the money, you have missed out, because the money is okay, but it's not great compared with other things.
Yeah, I agree. I remember actually when when we're talking about money, like one of my friends back then in medical school, we were sitting in the cafeteria, we're just talking about why we chose medicine, and he said that he chose medicine because of the money, and I was like, but then I asked him, but do you think that doctors is the richest in the world? Like, can you mention top 10 or top 100,000 people who are doctors in the world that are multimillionaires? And he and he told me that I should shut up. So so I was like, okay, I gotcha. But the point is that being a doctor is not going to make you rich, depending on which country you're working in. But here in Norway, no, we won't get rich being a doctor. That's the truth, and that's the reality. And if you're choosing medicine just because of the money, then you shouldn't choose medicine, honestly.
Well, I have my thoughts, but what do you think is the most important thing? Why you should choose to become a doctor? I believe that you need a genuine interest in doing a difference for other people. You want to help other people. That's my thought about it.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Eirik. Because you probably seen it too. I've seen a lot of many doctors out there that are doctors for not the right reasons. For me, it's about helping other people, improving their life quality, helping them, yeah, so they can have a better life when they get out of the hospital. And we don't necessarily we can't cure everyone, but we can at least improve their symptoms, their lives.
We can do a difference.
Yeah. We can do a difference. That's the main thing. But when I hear, we see a lot of strange things in the doctor world. You've probably seen a lot of it, but I really get mad when people are they don't care about the patients, and they're just doing a really bad job. And sometimes I'm like, why are you doctor? If you think it's about money, you chose the wrong career job, then you should just quit. If you're trying to actually mess up with some people's life, you shouldn't be a doctor. I just feel like I don't know. I've seen so many strange things. Sometimes I'm like, why are these doctors still out there, and doing this job? Because I feel really sad for the patients. actually, because the patient doesn't know that if you're good, average, or really bad doctors. They don't know. The only people who knows who is good doctors or average or bad ones are us doctors in between, right? And yeah, I feel it's really unfair, honestly, because they're messing with their lives, and they shouldn't be doctors, for that matter. So, um, when I chose being a doctor, mainly because I love doing this. I love being in contact with the patients, caring for them, helping them, improving their life quality. That's the reason. Because when I see them, the patients, I see them as my mother, my father. How would I treat them if it was one of my family members? And that is the thing I have to keep telling myself, asking myself. Some days I have not really good days, and and then I don't want to do that much of the tasks at work. And then I keep telling myself, if it was my father, my mother that I'm treating, would I do the same thing? No, I wouldn't do that. So I keep stepping up my game. So I'm always telling myself that I want to give the best care to the patients as if they were my parents sitting there or lying there. Um, that is my motivation of keeping going on, keeping learning, being curious, just improving myself every day.
You say that there are some doctors out there that maybe shouldn't be a doctor, but you have to remember that most doctors and nurses and healthcare workers are doing it because they love to help others.
Yeah.
And they are great at their work. But I think that one of the most important things in my world when I'm working with patient, and why I do that instead of going into the pharma industry or other thing, is that I love the stories. I love to listen to my patients. And I think that most of the patient, and one of my mentors during my education, he said that if you listen to the patients, they always tell you what's wrong with them. But in today's society, everything going for fast, we don't have the time, so we don't have the time to listen to them. And I think that we have to take a step back, and we have to take over that time to give them the chance to tell us what's wrong. And we learn so much about them and about ourselves. And the other one thing that I always feel is important is that you have to look at the patient as a person, not a disease. You have to treat the whole person and not just the heart or just the liver or whatever. And I think that during the last decades, where we have become more and more specialized, we forgot that there is other organs in the body than just the one we are doing or working with. And I know that we have discussed this earlier, which is the most important organ in the body, and you always say the heart, but what about the blood? If you don't have blood, you don't need the heart to pump it around. So you can always talk about that. And I think that we have to remember that the organs, they are there together. We need all of them.
Yeah. And we can joke about it as much as we want, of course. But in reality, everything is important in our body, and I think it's really important that we see the human beings that is in front of us, because we also are humans. We're not. Yeah, we do have a title as a doctor, but when if I just remove it, then we would just be Ify and Eirik. And you know what? The patients really love when they get to know who you are. And the other way around too, because I want to know who they are too. And that's what I learn the most of, like knowing their story, sharing their wisdom, their knowledge, and their life experiences. It's really important to ask them, to be curious, because these patients or the human beings we are looking at, they have some incredible stories to tell you, and that's what I'm learning a lot of from them. And some of them have become a friend of mine too, because of just the human beings they are amazing. And I'm so privileged for what I'm doing as a doctor, and being able to meet these people and different people every day. And I think that makes my life really compelling.
Yeah, and I think that's also something we're going to talk about in this podcast, Minds Over Scrubs, that medicine is more than diagnosis and prescriptions. We need to see the whole picture, and we need to be curious. But I think one of the most important thing is that most of the things you learn during your working as a doctor is not what you read in the books, because the patients are not like it says in the books. They are complex. They are having more than one disease. They're not telling you all their answers straight up. You need to see behind the words, and you need to listen to them. And I think that the most important thing you can bring with you is curiosity and understanding, and you need to build trust. So what do you think our medical students, our young people need to learn besides what's in the books?
I think it's really important to have that they have some life experiences. In that terms, it means that they have to go outside of the medical school. They have to go outside of the house. They have to go outside the country to explore the world, get to know different people, learn new cultures, understand people, why they are thinking like this or that. And that's how I got to understand more of the humanity, because I was really locked in Norway, in Oslo, which is the capital in Norway. I'm born and raised there, and I thought it was all centered in Oslo. It was all about Oslo. And then I got my internship in the west coast of of Norway, and I was like, "Oh my God, I've never seen this word before." It's like it was completely different, but in the same country. And I was like, "You know what? I haven't seen anything in this world." Like, and I was like, "How many years?" I was like 9. Well, after med school, I will be 24. I guess, yeah, 24 years old. And I was like, I've seen nothing. And I was like, that was a wake-up call for me. Like, I have to travel more. I have to see more. I have to get back to my roots. I have to understand my culture. And after traveling sometimes to Vietnam with my parents and with you, I came to realize that there's so much more in me that I didn't know. I got to see my parents, my parents' family, and how they're living, and then I understood the gratefulness and for what I have in this world here in Norway, because what I've seen there, as you have seen too, is the poverty, but yet the love and kindness they have is so much different to the Western world. So I don't know if you have experienced the difference, Eirik.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that that is something I also see in the hospital, where now that in Norway, many of the elderly patients we have, they come from a nursing home or whatever, and they come alone to the hospital to an examination. But if you have patients from another culture, it's from Asia or the middle of Europe or whatever, they often come with their children. One thing is that they can be more better in Norwegian or whatever, but it's also about being a family, staying together, taking care of each other. And I think that that's important in our world today, that we need to go back and take care of each other and see each other, and not just letting the old ones staying at the nursing home and the children at the school and let them take care of them. So I think that we need to take care of our family and take care of our own more.
Yeah.
And not all is done at the hospitals.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And we've been talking about this because these are our mine and your life perspective, right? It doesn't mean it has to be right for you who are listening to this, but we would encourage you to explore the world, to see other things in life than just being in your same zone, your comfort zone, in your town, in your job, because you won't develop yourself just being in the same zones, in your comfort zones. You have to step out of that zone so you can grow personally, but also professionally, because you can also travel all over the world to learn so much from other people, and that will also have an impact on you. And I think that when you come to the point where you have to choose which education, which career am I going to choose, you have to choose something that makes you happy, that makes your heart sing, that makes you happy every time you're thinking about it. There's always something ups and downs in a career as a doctor. We do have those too, but overall, it makes you happy. And I think that's really important when you choose medicine. You choose it because you love doing it.
Yeah, and I also think that you don't need to travel all over the world, but I think you need to travel outside your comfort zone. And I think it's really important that when you are a young doctor or in the start of the career, you choose a smaller hospital, because then you have more opportunities. You get more. You need to stand more alone, so you get more experience. You get tougher. You have to take decisions, and I think that's important, and that's make you stronger when you are a senior consultant, and you need to step up the game, because at a big university hospital, you always have someone to ask, or you have a senior doctor that can take the decisions. But sometimes you develop more and you grow more if you have to take those decisions yourself. And you have to remember, we don't have the right every time, and sometimes we do the wrong decision, but that will only make you stronger. And if you do something wrong, I promise that you will never do the same thing twice, because then you remember.
And I think that's really a good piece of advice to the ones who's listening to this podcast. And I think everyone is struggling, like finding the where they belong in this community. I think when and it's not you don't have to be ashamed of yourself if you're going to change your path. If you have good grades and then for some reason you're choosing medicine, and then along this journey you actually find out that you don't want to be a doctor. It's okay. It's okay to change that direction, right?
Yeah, of course. You should follow your dream, and you're going to work with whatever you choose for many, many years. And if you don't like it, your life will be miserable. So then you have to just change your path. But if you really think that medicine is the right thing, and you have find your path, I think you should go for that. And I think it's important that you remember that things are not served to you. If you're going to be the best, or you're going to take the next step, you have to take the steps. You have to be curious. You have to be interested. And everybody, especially me and you, we love to teach, but you have to come to us. We don't come to you all the time, and that's important as well, because it's your choice. It's your path you're building.
And I also, it might be some contradiction to why I chose medicine, because I told you like I chose it to begin with because of my parents, right? And then I started to falling in love with it after the 4th year. And for those who are listening, it's not wrong to choose medicine if you don't know in the beginning, because sometimes you have to try out to see if it really fits you. If it doesn't, then you can just change the path, and that is okay. And but I promise you, it's better to choose something and regret it later on than regretting in the beginning. And so I would encourage you to try out. If you think this is something you want to do, try it out. Let it and along I promise you, along this journey, you will find out what you really want, what you and maybe you should also think about what you're capable of, because being a doctor, you're going to do the night shifts and in the training. But when you become a specialist, it really depends on what kind of specialty you're going to choose. But you have to also know your capacity, your limitations. What can you do? You think you can do this? And if the answer is yes, go for it.
Yeah, and you have many possibilities. And I think it's important, if you have some thoughts about becoming a health worker, doctor, or whatever, I think it's smart to maybe try to apply for a summer job or something at a nursing home, at a hospital, whatever, to see what it's all about. Because if you have only gone to university and school and whatever, and you have never seen a sick patient before, it can be a shock. You see really, really ill patients, and you see a lot of things that you can't imagine. So it could be nice to try and see what's out there in the real world. But it's many opportunities. And as my father said, medical school is one of the hardest schools to get into. But when you first come in, it's quite easy to get through it, because if you're interested, you have a lot of people to help you, and there are a lot of interesting things to do.
Yeah, that's right. I would agree with that. And is there anything, Eirik, you would because you asked me, would you encourage the listeners why they should choose medicine?
Yeah, I think that it's one of the best feelings in the world to do a good thing for another human being. And one of my best experiences, not from a patient that I've cured, but from a patient that I made a difference for. She got a better life the time she had back, or had left. And I think that if you really love doing something for others, medical school or medicine is one of the best options you have. And we need more of you. So come join us.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good piece of advice you're giving to our listeners, and I would underscore that as well. And I think that is a really good ending of this episode. Just doing what you love, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope you will listen to the next one.